They laughed when you stayed silent. They mistook your patience for weakness, your kindness for surrender, and your distance for defeat. But the greatest mistakes are always made by people who judge only what they can see. While they plotted in the shadows, they never realized they were feeding on the very energy that kept their own illusions alive. Now something has changed. The doors they once walked through with ease are beginning to close. The chaos they created is circling back. This isn't revenge, it's consequence. And today, you'll discover why those who secretly attacked you can no longer move forward without your energy. Most people believe that those who criticize, undermine, or quietly work against them are stronger, smarter, or somehow more powerful. But the truth is often far more surprising. Many people who secretly attack others are not operating from a place of strength at all. They are operating from dependence. They may never admit it, and they may not even realize it themselves, but much of their confidence is built on someone else's energy, attention, or emotional reactions. The moment they stop receiving that invisible fuel, their own sense of control begins to weaken. Think about how some people constantly seek conflict. They look for opportunities to provoke, criticize, or create unnecessary tension. It may appear that they enjoy winning arguments or dominating situations, but what they are really chasing is validation. Every emotional reaction they receive convinces them they still have influence. Every moment you spend defending yourself, explaining your intentions, or proving your worth gives them confirmation that they still occupy space in your mind. That invisible exchange becomes the source of their confidence. The strange part is that many people never recognize this pattern. They believe they are simply responding to difficult people, unaware that every emotional investment strengthens the very behavior they wish would disappear. The more attention negativity receives, the more it grows. This is why some individuals become increasingly aggressive when ignored. Silence removes the reward they were unconsciously seeking. There are people who measure their own importance by comparison. They cannot feel successful unless someone else appears unsuccessful. They cannot feel admired unless someone else is questioned. Instead of building genuine confidence through disciplined learning and personal growth, they rely on pulling others into unnecessary competition. Their identity becomes tied to creating doubt in someone else's life. When you become the target of this kind of behavior, it is easy to assume you are the problem. You may spend countless hours wondering what you did wrong, searching for answers that never seem to come. But hidden attacks often reveal more about the attacker than the person being attacked. People who are secure rarely dedicate their time to secretly damaging another person's peace. They are too focused on building their own future. This dependence can appear in subtle ways. Someone may constantly monitor your progress while pretending not to care. Another person may dismiss every achievement you make, only to imitate your choices weeks later. Some people disappear when your life becomes difficult, but suddenly reappear the moment things begin improving. Their connection was never built on genuine support. It was built on the emotional influence they believed they had over your journey. What makes this dynamic even more fascinating is that dependence often hides behind confidence. Outwardly, these individuals may appear fearless, outspoken, and completely in control. Inwardly, however, they rely heavily on external validation. They need someone to compete against. They need someone to criticize. They need someone to blame whenever life becomes uncomfortable. Without that external focus, they are forced to confront the parts of themselves they have spent years avoiding. This explains why your personal growth can become unsettling to certain people. As you develop emotional maturity, you stop reacting to every insult. You stop chasing approval from people who never intended to give it. You begin protecting your peace instead of defending your reputation in every conversation. To healthy people, this looks like confidence. To those who depended on your reactions, it feels like losing control. Energy is exchanged in every relationship. It doesn't have to be mystical to be real. Your attention, emotions, time, and focus are valuable resources. Wherever they go, they create influence. When someone consistently receives your emotional energy, they begin expecting it. They may not consciously realize they have become dependent, but their behavior reveals it. The absence of your reactions suddenly becomes louder than any argument you could have made. This is why emotional independence is one of the greatest forms of personal strength. It changes the rules without announcing the game has changed. You no longer need to convince everyone of your intentions. You no longer need every misunderstanding to be corrected or every false accusation to be challenged. You become selective about where your energy flows because you understand that attention is one of the most valuable investments you can make. Ironically, those who secretly relied on your energy often mistake your silence for weakness in the beginning. They assume you have given up or accepted defeat. What they fail to realize is that silence can represent clarity rather than surrender. It can be the decision to stop participating in battles that never deserved your attention. While they wait for another emotional reaction, they slowly discover that the source they unconsciously depended upon is no longer available, leaving them facing the emptiness they once covered by focusing on someone else's life. There comes a moment in every person's life when they realize that constantly explaining themselves, defending every action, and responding to every attack is exhausting. It is not because they have become weak, but because they have become wiser. They finally understand that their greatest resource is not their money, status, or influence. It is their energy. Once you recognize how valuable your attention truly is, you stop giving it away to people who have done nothing to earn it. For a long time, you may have believed that staying engaged was the right thing to do. When someone spread rumors, you tried to correct them. When someone questioned your intentions, you searched for the perfect explanation. When people underestimated you, you worked harder to prove them wrong. Every challenge became another opportunity to fight for acceptance. But eventually, you begin to notice something strange. No matter how much effort you invest, some people never change their opinions. Their goal was never to understand you. Their goal was to keep you emotionally occupied. The day you realize this is the day everything begins to shift. Instead of reacting instantly, you pause. Instead of chasing approval, you choose self-respect. Instead of entering every argument, you quietly walk away from battles that offer no reward. That single decision may appear small from the outside, but internally it changes everything. Your mind becomes calmer. Your focus becomes sharper. Your emotional strength begins to grow because it is no longer scattered across endless distractions. Many people believe that power comes from speaking louder than everyone else. In reality, lasting power often comes from knowing when not to speak at all. Every unnecessary argument steals time that could have been spent building your future. Every attempt to satisfy impossible critics drains motivation that could have been invested in your own goals. Once you stop feeding that cycle, you begin reclaiming pieces of yourself that you did not even realize had been lost. Something unexpected also happens when you withdraw your emotional energy. The people who once seemed confident begin acting differently. Those who constantly criticized you suddenly become louder. Those who ignored you start paying attention. Those who claimed not to care somehow become curious about your life. It is not always because they miss you personally. It is because the dynamic they relied upon has changed. They were accustomed to receiving your reactions, your explanations, and your emotional investment. Without those things, they feel an uncomfortable silence they cannot control. This is why emotional distance can be more powerful than confrontation. Confrontation often gives people another opportunity to continue the conflict. Distance quietly removes the audience they were performing for. It forces them to face themselves instead of constantly focusing on you. Some will respond by trying even harder to provoke you because they hope to restore the old pattern. Others will lose interest entirely because they realize the attention they depended upon is no longer available. Taking your energy back is not about becoming cold or uncaring. It is about becoming intentional. You begin asking yourself important questions before investing your emotions. Does this conversation deserve my peace? Will this argument improve my future? Is this relationship built on mutual respect or constant emotional exhaustion? These questions become a filter that protects your mental and emotional well-being. As your focus returns to your own life, remarkable changes begin to appear. You notice opportunities that were hidden beneath constant stress. Your creativity returns because your mind is no longer consumed by unnecessary drama. Your confidence grows because it is now based on your own progress instead of other people's opinions. You start measuring success by the goals you accomplish rather than the arguments you win. The most powerful transformation is often invisible at first. It happens quietly within your habits, your thoughts, and your daily decisions. You stop checking who supports you and start supporting yourself. You stop waiting for recognition and begin finding satisfaction in personal growth. The approval you once chased loses its importance because your sense of worth is no longer controlled by outside voices. This shift can confuse the people who secretly expected you to remain emotionally available. They may test your boundaries, attempt to restart old conflicts, or create new reasons for you to react. But every time you choose peace over chaos, you strengthen your independence. Every time you refuse to give unnecessary attention to negativity, you reinforce the habits that protect your future. The greatest victory is not watching others become frustrated. The greatest victory is realizing that your life no longer revolves around their opinions. Your mornings become lighter, your decisions become clearer, and your purpose becomes stronger because your energy finally belongs to the person who earned it, you. From that moment forward, your progress is no longer determined by those who tried to distract you, but by the direction you choose to walk each day with confidence, discipline, and unwavering self-control. There's a point where every hidden attack begins to lose its power. It does not happen because your critics suddenly become kinder, or because the people working against you finally admit they were wrong. It happens because the foundation they were standing on starts to disappear. Their strategies were never designed to succeed on their own. They depended on your reactions, your frustration, your self-doubt, and your willingness to stay emotionally involved. Once those elements are gone, their influence begins to fade. Many forms of manipulation are built on predictability. The person attacking you expects you to respond the same way every time. They assume that if they criticize you, you will defend yourself. If they spread rumors, you will rush to correct them. If they ignore you, you will seek their approval. These predictable responses become part of their strategy. They know which emotional buttons to press because they have watched your reactions for so long. But imagine what happens when those buttons no longer work. Imagine responding with calm instead of anger, confidence instead of fear, and silence instead of endless explanations. Suddenly, the script they have relied upon no longer produces the outcome they expected. They become uncertain because their methods were never meant to survive without your participation. This is one of the most overlooked truths about emotional strength. You do not always defeat negativity by fighting it directly. Sometimes you defeat it by refusing to become part of it. Every argument you decline, every unnecessary conflict you avoid, and every insult you refuse to carry weakens the influence negativity once had over your life. Instead of wasting energy trying to control other people, you begin mastering yourself. People who secretly attack others often rely on emotional chaos. They create confusion because confused people are easier to manipulate. They encourage comparison because insecure people become distracted. They spread doubt because doubtful individuals hesitate before taking action. These tactics work only when the target accepts the emotional burden being placed upon them. The moment you recognize the pattern, you stop carrying weight that was never yours to begin with. Consider how often successful people are criticized simply for moving forward. Some individuals cannot accept another person's growth because it forces them to confront their own lack of progress. Rather than improving themselves, they attempt to slow someone else down. They question decisions, minimize achievements, or predict failure before success even has a chance to unfold. Their goal is not truth. Their goal is discouragement. What they rarely expect is persistence. Quiet, consistent progress is one of the strongest answers to hidden opposition. Every day you continue improving despite criticism, you weaken the belief that negativity can control your future. Every goal you accomplish without announcing it proves that discipline speaks louder than endless debate. Another reason hidden attacks begin to fail is because your priorities change. In the past, you may have measured your success by whether everyone understood you or appreciated your efforts. As you mature, you begin measuring success differently. You focus on your peace of mind, your personal development, your relationships with people who genuinely care, and the goals that give your life purpose. Once these become your priorities, distractions naturally lose their influence. There is also a psychological shift that takes place. When someone realizes they can no longer provoke you, they often become frustrated. They may increase their efforts, hoping the old reactions will return. They might become louder, more dramatic, or more persistent. This temporary escalation can fool people into believing the attacks are becoming stronger. In reality, it is often the opposite. When ineffective strategies stop working, those who rely on them frequently become more desperate before eventually losing momentum. Your confidence also changes the entire dynamic. True confidence is not arrogance or the belief that you are better than others. It is the quiet certainty that your value does not depend on someone else's opinion. That certainty removes the leverage manipulators once held over you. They cannot threaten your identity if your identity is no longer waiting for their approval. One of the greatest lessons in life is understanding that not every battle deserves your attention. Winning every argument is impossible, but protecting your peace is always within your control. The strongest individuals are often those who know how to direct their focus toward meaningful goals instead of endless distractions. They understand that every hour spent obsessing over critics is an hour taken away from building the future they truly desire. As your mindset continues to evolve, something remarkable happens. The attacks that once kept you awake at night begin to feel insignificant. The opinions that once wounded your confidence become background noise. You recognize that your path was never meant to satisfy everyone, and your purpose was never meant to depend on universal approval. With every step forward, you become less available to negativity and more committed to growth, making it increasingly difficult for anyone who once relied on your emotional reactions to interrupt the direction of your life. One of the greatest misconceptions about life is the belief that every wrong must be personally corrected. When people hurt us, betray our trust, or quietly work against our progress, our first instinct is often to fight back. We imagine that justice depends entirely on our actions. We think we must expose every lie, answer every accusation, or prove every critic wrong. But time has a remarkable way of revealing something many people overlook. Those who consistently choose dishonesty manipulation, or negativity often create the very obstacles that eventually block their own path. Every decision carries consequences, even when those consequences are delayed. A person who builds relationships through deception eventually loses trust. Someone who advances by damaging others eventually finds themselves surrounded by people who cannot be trusted either. The habits they once used to gain temporary advantages slowly become permanent weaknesses. They become suspicious of everyone because they assume others think the way they do. They struggle to experience genuine peace because they are constantly protecting the image they worked so hard to create. At first, this process is almost invisible. From the outside, it may appear that they are succeeding. They may receive attention, praise, or temporary victories. This can be discouraging when you are trying to do the right thing. You may wonder why honesty seems slower than manipulation, or why patience appears less rewarding than shortcuts. But appearances rarely tell the complete story. Success that depends on hurting others is often unstable because it lacks a strong foundation. Imagine building a tall structure on unstable ground. It may look impressive for a while, but every new level adds pressure to a weak foundation. Eventually, the smallest crack becomes impossible to ignore. In the same way, people who repeatedly make harmful choices often carry invisible cracks within their character. Every lie requires another lie to protect it. Every act of manipulation creates another relationship built on fear instead of trust. Every selfish decision increases the distance between who they pretend to be and who they actually are. The irony is that many people who secretly attack others believe they are creating obstacles for someone else while they are actually limiting themselves. Instead of investing time in learning new skills, improving their mindset, or strengthening their character, they spend countless hours watching, criticizing, and competing with people they claim not to care about. Their attention becomes trapped by comparison. Their focus shifts away from personal growth and toward controlling someone else's story. Meanwhile, the person who chooses growth instead of revenge continues moving forward. Every hour spent learning, improving, or building a meaningful future creates momentum. Every decision made with discipline adds another brick to a stronger foundation. While one person is consumed by resentment, the other is quietly creating opportunities that cannot be taken away by gossip or hidden opposition. There is also an emotional cost to living with harmful intentions. Constant jealousy is exhausting. Constant resentment drains creativity. Constant comparison steals joy from even the greatest achievements. Imagine reaching a goal but being unable to celebrate it because you are too busy wondering what someone else is doing. That is not freedom. It is another form of imprisonment. The person who cannot stop focusing on others eventually becomes trapped inside their own thoughts. This is why hidden attacks often lose their effectiveness over time. Negative intentions demand continuous emotional energy to survive. They require constant monitoring, endless criticism, and repeated attempts to create conflict. Positive growth works differently. Once healthy habits are established, they begin producing results naturally. Discipline strengthens confidence. Integrity builds trust. Consistency creates opportunities. These qualities continue working even when nobody is watching. Many people expect dramatic moments when consequences finally appear, but real life is usually much quieter. The person who ignored personal growth finds themselves unprepared when opportunities arrive. The individual who sacrificed honesty loses important relationships. The one who depended on manipulation discovers that people no longer believe their words. These outcomes are rarely caused by a single event. They are the result of hundreds of small choices made over months and years. The most powerful response to hidden opposition is not celebrating another person's difficulties. It is recognizing the importance of protecting your own character while life unfolds. Bitterness has a way of spreading to anyone who embraces it. If you become consumed by revenge, you risk creating the same emotional prison you hoped to escape. Your greatest strength lies in refusing to let someone else's behavior define your own values. As you continue focusing on purpose instead of conflict, you begin noticing a profound truth. The people who invested their lives in tearing others down often find themselves standing still, surrounded by the consequences of their own decisions. They search for new excuses, new targets, or new distractions because they never learned to build from within. Meanwhile, your progress continues because it was never built upon someone else's failure. It was built upon discipline, patience, integrity, and the daily choice to move forward without allowing negativity to determine the direction of your life. There is a powerful truth that many people discover only after years of struggle. Your greatest protection is not found in constantly watching your enemies, predicting every attack, or trying to control what other people think about you. Your greatest protection comes from becoming the kind of person who cannot easily be shaken. When your character grows stronger than the challenges around you, the influence of negativity begins to fade. Personal growth becomes a shield that no one else can take away. Many people spend enormous amounts of energy trying to avoid criticism. They carefully choose every word, constantly worry about how they are perceived, and adjust their lives to satisfy people who will never be satisfied. This creates a dangerous cycle because the more you seek universal approval, the more control you give to those who enjoy withholding it. Your confidence becomes dependent on opinions that change from one moment to the next. Real growth changes this mindset completely. Instead of asking, "How can I make everyone like me?" you begin asking, "How can I become a better version of myself?" That single shift transforms everything. Your attention moves away from chasing validation and toward building discipline, wisdom, emotional maturity, and resilience. These qualities cannot be given by others, and they cannot be taken away by critics. One of the first signs of genuine personal growth is emotional stability. You stop reacting to every negative comment as though it defines your worth. You begin understanding that not every opinion deserves your attention. Some people criticize because they misunderstand you. Others criticize because they envy your progress. Still others criticize simply because they criticize everyone. Once you recognize these differences, you become far more selective about whose voice you allow into your life. Growth also teaches patience. In a world that celebrates instant results, patient people often appear unnoticed at first. They are quietly learning, practicing, improving, and developing skills while others seek shortcuts. Day after day, they make small decisions that seem insignificant on their own. Yet over time, these small decisions create extraordinary results. Confidence grows through consistency, not through sudden bursts of motivation. Another important part of personal development is learning to protect your boundaries. There was probably a time when you felt responsible for everyone's emotions. You believed it was your job to fix every misunderstanding, rescue every unhealthy relationship, or carry burdens that did not belong to you. While kindness is valuable, endless self-sacrifice without wisdom often leads to exhaustion. Growth teaches you that protecting your peace is not selfish. It is necessary. Healthy boundaries also reveal people's true intentions. Those who genuinely respect you will appreciate your honesty, even when you say no. Those who only valued what they could gain from you may become frustrated because they can no longer access your time, attention, or emotional energy as easily as before. This is not a sign that you have become cold. It is a sign that your priorities have become healthier. Personal growth also strengthens your ability to handle uncertainty. Instead of fearing every obstacle, You begin seeing challenges as opportunities to learn. Failure no longer feels like a permanent label. It becomes temporary feedback that helps you improve. This perspective makes you remarkably difficult to discourage because setbacks become stepping stones instead of stopping points. Your daily habits begin changing as well. Rather than waking up thinking about people who dislike you, you wake up thinking about your goals. Instead of spending hours replaying negative conversations, you invest that time in reading, learning, exercising, building meaningful relationships, or developing new skills. Every positive habit becomes another layer of protection because it strengthens the parts of your life that truly matter. Perhaps the greatest transformation is the way you define success. In the past, success may have meant proving your critics wrong. Now, it means proving yourself right. It means honoring your values even when no one is watching. It means becoming someone you respect, regardless of applause or recognition. This kind of confidence is quiet, steady, and deeply rooted because it is based on internal growth rather than external approval. Ironically, the stronger you become internally, the less interested you are in fighting unnecessary battles. You no longer feel the need to win every argument or respond to every accusation. You understand that your life has a greater purpose than endless conflict. Your peace becomes more valuable than your pride. Your future becomes more important than your past. People who once expected to distract you may notice this change. They may wonder why their words no longer affect you the way they once did. The answer is simple. You have invested so much time building your inner strength that their negativity no longer has a place to take root. The storms around you may still exist, but they no longer control your direction because your foundation has become stronger than the winds trying to move you, allowing you to continue walking forward with confidence, clarity, resilience, and an unshakable commitment to becoming the best version of yourself every single day. There comes a defining moment when you realize that your future cannot be built while constantly looking over your shoulder. No matter how many people doubted you, misunderstood you, or quietly worked against you, there's a limit to how much space they deserve in your mind. Every minute spent replaying old betrayals is a minute taken away from creating new opportunities. Every ounce of energy invested in yesterday's conflicts is energy that cannot be used to build tomorrow's success. The greatest transformation begins when you decide that your attention belongs to your purpose, not your past. Many people remain emotionally connected to situations that ended long ago. They replay conversations, imagine different outcomes, and wonder what they could have said or done differently. While reflection can be valuable, endless rumination becomes a trap. It creates the illusion of progress while keeping you emotionally tied to moments that can never be changed. Growth requires a different approach. It requires accepting that some chapters are meant to teach lessons, not become permanent places of residence. One of the most liberating decisions you can make is choosing not to carry unnecessary emotional weight. This does not mean pretending painful experiences never happened. It means refusing to allow those experiences to define your identity. Your mistakes are not your identity. Other people's opinions are not your identity. The unfair treatment you received is not your identity. These are events that occurred, but they do not determine who you become unless you continue giving them authority over your future. Moving forward also requires letting go of the desire for universal understanding. There will always be people who misunderstand your intentions, question your decisions, or create stories that fit their own perspective. If you spend your life trying to correct every misunderstanding, you will never have enough time to pursue your own dreams. Some explanations are unnecessary because the people demanding them have already decided what they want to believe. Wisdom lies in recognizing when your silence is more valuable than another attempt to convince someone who has no interest in listening. As your focus shifts toward your own purpose, something remarkable begins to happen. Your goals become clearer. The distractions that once seemed overwhelming begin to lose their importance. You wake up with direction instead of anxiety. Instead of wondering who is talking about you, you begin asking yourself what meaningful action you can take today. That simple change transforms the way you experience each day because your attention is finally invested where it can create positive results. Purpose has an incredible ability to silence unnecessary noise. A person who is deeply committed to growth has little time for endless conflict. They understand that every hour spent improving themselves produces far greater rewards than an hour spent chasing people who have already chosen negativity. They realize that the most convincing response to doubt is consistent progress, not endless explanation. This mindset also changes the relationships you build. You naturally become drawn toward people who inspire growth instead of drama. Conversations become more meaningful because they revolve around ideas, opportunities, learning, and encouragement, rather than gossip and resentment. Your environment begins reflecting the standards you have chosen for your life. Healthy relationships reinforce your progress, while unhealthy ones gradually lose their influence because they no longer align with your direction. There is also tremendous freedom in accepting that not everyone is meant to accompany you into your future. Some people enter your life to teach resilience. Others reveal the importance of healthy boundaries. Some demonstrate exactly what kind of person you never want to become. Instead of viewing every ending as a tragedy, you begin seeing many endings as necessary transitions. Every closed door creates space for one that better aligns with the person you are becoming. Protecting your peace eventually becomes a daily practice rather than an occasional decision. You become careful about what you watch, what you listen to, who you spend time with, and where your attention goes. You understand that your mind is constantly shaped by what you repeatedly expose it to. By choosing environments that encourage growth instead of conflict, you strengthen your ability to remain focused even when challenges appear. The most inspiring part of this journey is that your success no longer depends on what anyone else does. Whether someone applauds you or criticizes you, your commitment remains the same. Whether old opponents continue watching from a distance or disappear entirely, your direction does not change. You have discovered something far more valuable than external approval. You have discovered the quiet confidence that comes from living according to your principles and investing your energy in what truly matters. As the years pass, you may occasionally remember the people who once tried to discourage you, but those memories will no longer carry the emotional weight they once did. They become reminders of how far you have traveled rather than anchors pulling you backward. Your story is no longer about hidden attacks, secret opposition, or people who underestimated your potential. It becomes a story of resilience, purpose, discipline, and unwavering forward movement, where every step is guided by your own vision instead of someone else's expectations. And every new chapter is written with confidence, because your energy is finally dedicated to building the life you were always meant to live.